So one of the foundational values, principles, practices that we follow and carry out in Celebrate Recovery is the guideline of protecting anonymity and confidentiality. Very important for safety. But does it just mean for small groups? Does Celebrate Recovery value confidentiality and anonymity outside of the meeting, or is it just in the meeting? And where does that get gray, and what does that look like? Interesting question. Today, we're going to talk about it. Welcome to Celebrate Recovery Official, a podcast that shares life-change stories, courage, hope, and leadership wisdom, all centered around the Beatitudes, Jesus' teachings that fuels the principles of Celebrate Recovery, that helps us to courageously face our hurts so that we can address some of those things that get us hung up, the nasty core beliefs, how we see ourselves, God, and others that can lead to unhealthy practices, habits, defenses, protections that have havoc on our relationships with others and our fellowship with God, so that we can walk with new healthy practices and new healthy relationships. I'm a grateful believer in Jesus Christ. I struggle with drugs and alcohol and perfectionism. My name is Rodney. I'm the Global Field Director with Celebrate Recovery. Good to be back with you guys today. As always, thank you guys so much for giving us reviews, taking a minute to do that. I wish it wasn't that way, but it helps us to get more exposure on apps that you're listening to this podcast on, and giving us a review is even better. So thank you for those. And thanks for your encouragement. It helps us to know that people are listening and it's making a difference. So grateful to have this platform to be able to share with you guys. But man, anonymity and confidentiality, it is a foundational. Oftentimes when I'm talking to first-time visitors, I will say, hey, I hate to say that this is the most important guideline, but because they're all really, really important. We don't ever want people to think, well, this is the only guideline that we really care about. But it's pretty darn important. In fact, if someone is breaking anonymity and confidentiality, there could be a conversation where they're blatantly trying to break that safety for our ministry, then we will ask them not to come back. It's that important. That's that important. Now, sometimes there's slips, and I missed you Friday night, and we say that in a public setting, and it's like, oh gosh, I blew that one. And there's grace with that. And obviously, we're still going to talk with those folks and let them know that we got to be super careful. But if we're blatantly doing that, we got to be super careful as a ministry, because nothing will kill a ministry quicker than people not feeling safe. And blowing someone's anonymity, which is who we see there, and their confidentiality is what they say there. That's the catchy little phrase we say in Celebrate Recovery: who you see here and what you say here stays here. It's so important that we protect who you see here and what they have heard there through other people saying what they say there. So this was actually a topic that was sent in, and I thought, man, that's a great one. I'm going to jump on that topic because I think it's a good reminder. Even if you've been doing this, I'm going on 20 years, and I have to be reminded of these foundational things. And so why does Celebrate Recovery value anonymity and confidentiality? Now, there's some obvious things, and we'll hit some of those Captain Obvious statements, but it'll be a good recap for some of those. But let me jump in that. Let me just kind of give you the foundation, and it's good to be mindful of that. This is a good biblical foundation. It reminds me of John chapter 13, verse 34. Jesus is talking to his disciples, his apostles, right? And he's saying, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you, so you must love one another." I mean, he says love multiple times through a command. Love one another. As I've loved you, you must love one another. And that's such a good reminder. So what does that mean to love? Well, through this lens of anonymity and confidentiality, protecting those is a way to actively love one another. If I am not protecting your anonymity and confidentiality, I'm not actively loving you. In fact, I'm actually sending a different signal to your body. I don't really care about how this impacts you. I'm going to do it because I want to do that. And that's why we take it so seriously. If someone is blatantly doing that, they don't need to be a part of our ministry. We need safety here. And so it's actively loving one another about when we protect their anonymity and confidentiality. By the way, that's really hard to say fast, isn't it? Say that fast 5 times. You'll get tongue-tied. But hard to say, important to enforce. So John 13, Jesus has given us a good model there that we need to protect that. Now, in James 5:16 is a verse that we read often. It kind of resonates with that same thing. Therefore, confess your sins to each other and pray for each other so that you may be healed. When we're in these small groups, it's so important that people know that when we're confessing, and confessing is just coming into agreement with what God already knows, but we're confessing it out loud to God, and through that confession, we're admitting to another safe person. And a safe person is someone that is trustworthy with our what I call our scary parts of our story. Safe confession. To confess my sins to another safe person requires trust, and that's what is shared must be honored, right? So when I have trust, I have a trust not just in you, but I have a trust that what I'm sharing will stay here. Who you see here, what you say here, and what you say here stays here. So important. I need to know it's going to stay right here. It's not your story to share, and it's not your job to let someone else know that I'm here. Now, I think it's really super sad that we live in a society where some people would punish you for getting help. If they found out you were going to a recovery meeting, that you could actually lose your job. That's the reality. It's a crazy upside down reality. I don't agree with it. And if I could get in front of executives and corporations and implore them to have open hands and curiosity about their employees that are seeking help to better themselves, I would love to have that platform. That's not realistic, but there is a reality that some people, their anonymity is that important. They could lose their livelihood, and I don't think that's fair. But we have to honor that. I'm in a situation. Maybe you're in a situation where, man, it doesn't matter. I can share about anything, but there was a time when I worked in the business world. I would be very guarded. I would probably be judged. I would probably be disregarded, considered less than, if not fired, at the very least mistreated and kind of demeaned because of my struggle and what I'm doing with my past. So I don't think it's fair, but it's a reality. And so there's a biblical foundation here. In order to be healed, we must have safety from James 5:16. I need to be able to confess in safety so that I can be healed, so that you will be healed. And then in that John 13, we do this. We protect each other's anonymity and confidentiality as a way to actively love one another. So through that, kind of takes me to that next point, that there's safety. There has to be safety for healing to take place. Proverbs 10:19, the prudent holds their tongue. Some of us come from backgrounds where we love to gossip. We love to share the dirt. And in this culture, we got to shut that down. And gossiping, the scriptures are pretty clear about gossiping. We have to guard our words. We have to hold our tongues. Why? So that we don't harm someone else in their healing journey. I don't want to be the cause of your stumbling, of your falling. And so I have to guard that. I have to guard that with honor and respect. 1 Peter 4:8 reminds us, above all, love each other deeply, because love covers a multitude of sins. Confidentiality, anonymity is one of those ways that love covers rather than exposes. We got to trust that they're confessing it and admitting it out loud. It, through the Holy Spirit's presence, is going to bring healing. I want to cover them with love, not shame, not exposing their sin. That's between them and God. And so there can't be healing without safety. And so when we think about safety, obviously when we're in that small group and you share something, it's easy to maybe buy into that notion. Okay, everything that's shared here stays here. Here's where it gets a little bit tricky sometimes, and I think there's good intentions in this. I don't think it's malicious, but sometimes when we're sharing or we're having conversations in open spaces, we're just being good-natured, kind of light, fun, just being silly with each other. We know each other. No longer we're on the road to recovery. We know our tendencies, our control issues, our codependency, maybe even our quick anger that can pop up. And sometimes in fun, there's your codependency kicking in and coming out, right? And it is super tricky because we're human and we have relationships and we have fun and we kind of poke at each other, but probably not as a big a deal down the road when you've been doing this a while, because we're less offendable when we're in recovery and we've experienced healing. Yeah, call out my codependency. But some people, or their fear of relationships, fear of connecting with women, trusting women or trusting men, sometimes we can use that and we can weaponize that, and that can be a way of breaking that confidentiality. Now, it's super, super gray, and so we don't want to be legalistic with that, but it's good to be aware of that we want to make sure that when we're talking about anonymity and confidentiality, that we carry that out into our community, in our relationships, and we make sure that our tongue is still prudent as we're holding our tongues. We're holding that. We're gonna have some self-control. I don't want to harm you in your healing journey. So am I weaponizing my knowledge of your story to bring shame on you because I know deeper parts of you that other people don't know? And man, that's so easy to slip into that. So it's not just for the small group. It's outside, even in the Connection Cafe. It's our version of Solid Rock Cafe. If some of you call it Crosstalk Cafe, we call it Connection Cafe. It's our time to connect. Sometimes in those settings, we can get super loose with our tongue and how we kind of jab each other, and it's in good nature. The motives are good, but we have to be mindful of that. See, trust, as we're thinking about anonymity and confidentiality, is the foundation of trust in that space. It's the glue of our community in Celebrate Recovery. A couple scriptures there. Luke 6:31, do to others as you would have them do to you. See, we must, and this is the heart behind the guideline, we want to honor other stories the way we want to be honored. Do to others as you want them to do to you. So I want to honor your story. I want to honor your anonymity the way I need mine. Now, you may say, well, I don't care about my anonymity. Yes, but not everybody's in that situation. So are you honoring your brother and sister the way you would want to honor when you weren't comfortable about your anonymity being exposed? Another one, Proverbs 11:13, a gossip betrays a confidence, but a trustworthy person keeps a secret. Celebrate Recovery, one of our central principles and values, practices, is anonymity and confidentiality. Celebrate Recovery, the heart of that is trustworthiness. It's not gossip. And sometimes that's one of our issues that we walk in here with. We're so used to the gossip track that we can slip back into that and get stuck. And we have to be real cautious of that. I'm going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation of why do we honor, why do we value anonymity and confidentiality? Some of the obvious answers and maybe some not so obvious. When we come back, we'll continue the conversation. Stick with me. I'll be right back. Hey, friends, if you're looking for an additional meeting, you want to take part in another meeting, maybe in place of your in-person because you're on the road or whatever your circumstances, maybe you're traveling, you can join us online with the global meeting every Wednesday at noon Pacific. You just jump in, we hear a mini-moni, a testimony, or a devotional, and then we break up into gender-specific groups. It's just a rich time, a way to be encouraged. If you'd like to join us, go to celebraterecovery.com, get the link. We hope to see you this Wednesday at noon Pacific. Welcome back. So right before break, just to wrap up that thought, Celebrate Recovery is about trust. It's about trustworthiness. It's about honoring each other's stories, the way we want others to honor ours. Maybe it's different for you today, but don't ever forget what it was like when you first came in. It's scary. I don't want anybody to know this, and we want to honor people's stories. So trust through Celebrate Recovery and protecting anonymity and confidentiality becomes that glue for our community. I think with that, one of those things why we value these two important values of anonymity and confidentiality is it helps guard against shame. And you could add it guards against the stigma. Remember Romans 8:1, there's now no condemnation for those who are in Christ Jesus. Anonymity and confidentiality helps us to live out this truth by not shaming one another. Sometimes when we're doing those jabs, what we're trying to do is shame our brother and sister. And sometimes it comes through as sarcasm. Oh, there's that angry person coming out. There's that person that doesn't trust men. And I was like, oh, your insecurities about letting women into your life, right? We kind of jab each other, and what we're doing, we have to understand the heart behind it. We may be bringing shame on our brothers and sisters, and that's just not edifying. Confidentiality helps us to live this out, to live out this truth by not shaming each other. Or what about Romans 13:10? Love does no harm to a neighbor. Love does no harm. Shame and gossip destroys. When I'm sharing your story without your permission, it can harm you. And when I keep it in private, people are kind of blown away by this sometimes when I remind them that even me and my wife, when we go home, we don't have pillow talk around stuff that happens in our group. And sometimes when I get close with guys in a step study, when they're picking up their completion coins, like, oh, you probably knew that I was in your husband's group. And my wife's like, not a clue. And they're like, oh, really? Now you can take that, oh, wait, you must not really have cared about me. No, we're trying to protect that. That's your story to share. So we protect that. And so that means even if I see you in Walmart, I want to honor your anonymity. It's wrong for me. It's good to be able to connect outside of Celebrate Recovery, but we don't have to say, why weren't you at Celebrate Recovery last week? I missed you at Celebrate Recovery, right? And then everybody in the grocery store is going, wait, what? Oh, you're in recovery? Or if I bump into you, and I always tell newcomers this, if I bump into you out in public, I will acknowledge you. But if someone, shake your hand, high five, hug, whatever, someone asks me, well, how do you know them? From church. They go to my church. right? We've run into some church meetings together. I don't have to say celebrate recovery. That's nobody's business. So I want to guard against shame and stigma. And the society has placed a stigma against around recovery. I don't want to be a part of feeding that stigma and that shame. So we build up, we don't tear down. It's really about building up dignity, isn't it? Not secrecy. So there's a difference there, right? Philippians 2:4 says, "Let each of you look not only to his own interests, but also to the interests of others." Confidentiality, don't miss this. It's not about let's keep the family secret. No, we're putting others' dignity before our curiosity. We're putting their dignity before our curiosity. So important. Or our desire to share. Oh, man, I can't keep this in. You're going to be bringing them down and shaming them. So how do I restore the dignity? How do I put their dignity above my curiosity or desire to share with someone else? So important. 1 Thessalonians 5:11, encourage one another and build each other up. Keeping confidentiality is not about secrecy, it's about dignity, and it's about building up our brother and sister. When I honor your anonymity, when I honor your confidentiality, I'm a part. God invites me into that space to help build you up rather than tear you down. And this is why we want to be extra careful when we're in community, even in the Connection Cafe, as I'm in a group, grabbing a cup of coffee after a small group. Hey, when you were talking about there's other people around me, I got to be super careful with that. Now, I may set up some time one-on-one and making sure that we're out of range where people can hear and just say, hey, and your sharing really impacted me and my story really resonates with you. Could I ask for some advice on some things? Those kind of conversations are happening. I just got to be really careful and aware of my surroundings and ask for permission for advice. That's what Celebrate Recovery is about, is accountability and mentorship and all that stuff. So important. I want to honor your anonymity. I want to honor your confidentiality and build you up rather than tearing you down. So how does this look in practice, just real high level? Well, we do it inside small groups, and I love Luke 12:3. What is whispered in your ear will not be proclaimed from the housetops. Flip that around, and it becomes a warning. We cannot proclaim this from the housetops, what is whispered in our ear. Don't repeat what's shared in group. But outside of, and that seems a little bit more cut and dry, doesn't it? Outside of the group settings, we want to be humble and gentle, as Ephesians 4:2. Be completely humble and gentle. Be patient, bearing with one another in love. Let other people decide how their story or how they want to identify themselves in public. It's not my job to say, you need to identify yourself this way in public. Let them decide how they want to identify themselves publicly. That's so important, and that means I've got to be super cautious about knowing and honoring that they may not want anybody to know they're a part of Celebrate Recovery. If we dishonor that, they may not come back, and then we've kind of become a cog in the wheel of their healing journey. I think high level keeping and valuing and anonymity and confidentiality outside of the small groups is just a basic biblical principle of leadership. As 1 Timothy 4:12, set an example for the believers in speech, in conduct, in love, in faith, and in purity. Healthy leaders, and guess what? You're a leader in some capacity. Maybe you're early in the process, but you're leading people. Someone's watching you. But some of us are in assigned leadership roles. Regardless, we're all leaders. And healthy leaders, wise leaders, faithful leaders model carefulness with their words, with their stories, with their actions, and they hold their tongue in those spaces. Be a healthy leader in that space. And I think that the last thing I'll say is we're to guard our public testimonies. Listen to the words in Galatians 6:4. Each one should test their own actions. Then they can take pride in themselves alone without comparing themselves to someone else. I love that. We can take pride in ourselves alone without comparing. God, you created me in a unique, I'm fearfully and wonderfully made. I can take pride in that and knowing that, God, you're good and you're faithful. I don't have to compare myself to someone else. So each person has their own story. And here's the thing, it's their story to tell. And it's like, oh, this is juicy. I need to. In fact, sometimes people will share something. They'll send me a note of encouragement. And man, this is amazing. And there's some stories that I would love to tell our staff, but I'll ask permission. Hey, would you feel comfortable if I share this with our staff? And sometimes they say, actually, no. Hey, no big deal. But when they say yes, I keep names out and I protect them, and I kind of share just the heart of it without getting into details to be able to tell who this is, just to share how God is moving. But I want to ask for permission. Sometimes we think, but this will move the ministry forward if people hear this. Yeah, it will, but I still have to honor it's their story. It's their story to tell. Am I honoring them above? It probably bears repeating what I shared earlier. I want to make sure that I'm making sure that I'm putting their dignity before my curiosity or my desire to share with others. It's your story to share, and I want to honor that. So important. Anonymity and confidentiality is one of our basic foundational. It's one of the 5 guidelines, but it's pretty darn important. It's not the most important, but it's pretty darn important if you want to keep a safe ministry, a growing ministry. And so am I honoring them so that I don't become a barrier between me and another person's healing journey? So just be mindful. We want to value it in the small groups, but we also want to value and honor it outside of those groups. Ask for permission. Be very aware of our surroundings when we're talking one-on-one in connection settings, connection cafe, whatever. And then make sure that we're making sure it's their story to tell unless we get permission. And then even then be very, hold that with gentleness and respect. It's so important. It's a ministry of safety, and healing doesn't happen without safety. And thank you for those that, if you're listening and you're one of those that has honored the anonymity and confidentiality and put their dignity, the other's dignity, above your own curiosity or desire to share. Thank you for doing that. And you keep doing that, and you'll keep your ministry safe and healthy. And if you're listening and you're wondering, man, will they really keep it safe? They do. And it is a safe ministry because of that principle, that guideline. And so we hope that you'll join us at a Celebrate Recovery near you. Hey, thanks so much for joining me today. I pray that you'll join me next time. Until then, God bless you guys.